I'm not pressing the button. I'm just going to talk.
So now you can tell that it's
Going boop boop boop.
Yeah.
Hello, you're off the screen. You need to move in. Oh, hello everyone. I didn't know I was taking over. I've been told that I'm taking over.
You're taking over.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm fine.
Why are you wearing glasses?
Because I can't read the chat. I can't talk to the chat. I can't be led astray. You're in command tonight. I can't talk about the things I want to talk about. I've been in hobby heaven this last week.
I'm not sure you're allowed to say that you can't talk about what you can't talk about.
I mean, I'm definitely not allowed to talk. Yeah, exactly. You're not even allowed to say what you're not allowed to say. But all the things that I want to talk about this evening, I can't talk about this evening. So Sultan, we can talk to Sultan. Sultan's got many things. I can't, for example, talk about why I suddenly decided to buy a Forge Fiend and paint in purple and talk to James from muchofwar.co.uk and ask him to send through one of his lovely bases to stick the thing on the lovely base. And I can't talk about why. I mean, other than the model's great. I love the model.
Yeah.
It's a good model.
So it's a good model. So
all the things I can't talk about the things.
Yeah. It's all right. I wouldn't want to talk about the things.
So you talk about the things. You're in control.
They can see what you can't talk about in your glasses.
Where?
They could, like, in the reflection. I can't see it.
What thing?
The things you can't talk about. I don't think you can.
No, you can't. It's definitely.
Yeah.
I can talk about the Mechanicum Heavy Support choice.
I don't even know what that is.
Or any of the Krieg stuff that came out. I can talk about some of the Krieg stuff that came out.
Krieg stuff's cool. I painted a bunch of horses. I made some horse peoples with lances, and I changed all the heads so they're not wearing gas masks. They've got Cadian heads.
What, you chopped off a bunch of horses' heads?
The Krieg, yeah, the horses have little tiny Krieg heads on now, little tiny Cadian heads on. No, the riders' heads. The riders have no gas masks. They've got Cadian heads.
How can they ride the horses if they can't breathe because their gas masks have been taken away? You chop their heads off.
Because they have Cadian heads, and the Cadian heads have mouths.
But Cadian heads are normally found spiked to the end of a Terminator pauldron, usually underneath a black and yellow hazard stripe thing. That's where you find the Cadian heads.
No, you find them on Cadians. Actually, thinking 40k. So there's a thing about Earth, right? Like, there's more people dead than whoever live or something like that. So, like, there's more bodies on the Earth than there will be alive people because the amount of people getting buried, they decompose and stuff. Do you think there's more Cadian heads on spikes than there are on Cadian heads, like, necks in 40k? So let's say there's a billion Cadians who are fighting.
Yeah.
Do you think there's more Cadian heads on various spikes in the history of 40k compared to the amount of Cadians currently fighting?
Well, given the tendency of the enemy to stick things on top of spikes, and given the proliferation of the Cadians throughout the galaxy, then your head-to-spike ratio will be higher with Canadians than it is with, say, Australians or...
In 30k there are Australians.
And is there?
Yeah. There's a bit in Saturnine where there's a guy from the 4th Australis or something.
The 4th Australis?
Yeah, it was when I was listening to the audiobook, and it's when Jonathan Keewood goes,
"G'day, mate." Does he?
Like, yeah, he does. It's like one line. It's the bit where they're talking about... This isn't a spoiler, this is just a bit of background info about the heresy and Siege of Terror and stuff. But there's a bit where basically these line troopers have become so mixed up in their units that they kept introducing themselves saying, "Oh, I'm like William Cordy, 13th Pan Pac Lift Mobile."
Yeah.
And then it kept, like, they said it so often it became their surnames, basically. It was when they introduced themselves to Camba Diaz, who's a Imperial Fist,
who's
an
a
all-round
G.
hero. Yeah. You meet them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm again William Cordy, Pan Pac Lift Mobile," and then he's like sort of to stop them, and he's like, no, we need you to hear it and understand who we are. And he's like, okay, so he lets them talk, and he goes, Camba Diaz, Imperial Fist. And I was like, yeah, good. But yeah, it's cool. I love the little mini stories you get like that in the Siege of Terror, and it's almost always Abnett, actually, come to think of it. He does all the little stories. He likes his fragments and stuff, doesn't he?
He likes his fragments.
I'm about to finish The End of the Death Volume 2 again.
Okay.
Because I'm listening to him in a row now. Because I listened to 1 ages ago, then 2, and then 3 in pretty short order when it came out.
Yeah.
And then now I'm listening to them in a chunk.
Yeah.
It's a lot of book.
It's a lot of
It's
book.
a lot of book.
There's a lot of fragments in it as well, but there is a lot of book in that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I've enjoyed it. At the time I was like, oh, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure I understood the significance. But having listened to the various books in the Siege of Terror and then got to the end of the Death Again, I'm like, okay, I can see that. I can now have listened to it in recent times as opposed to like listening to Warhawk 3 years before.
Yeah.
Whatever, and like hearing about old person stuff. I was like, yeah, cool. I also like how old person basically means old person, and I'm guessing that's the joke,
person.
isn't it? Yeah, he's old person. Yeah.
He's old. Yeah. What's his name? Old person.
He's an old person.
That's how long?
He's 45,000 years old.
Yeah. But he did like hanging out with Odysseus and all that, and
Jason.
Jason.
Yeah.
He hung out with those guys, which means that he's going to turn up in a Christopher Nolan movie soon. Old person.
Just Tenet. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like old person. Like when I first listened to the Siege of Terror, I was like, I thought it was fine. Like it was good. But yeah, listening to it again and hearing his story kind of as a fully fledged end to end, because his whole story across all those 9-10 books,
yes,
could have been a single book by itself, right?
Yes.
Couldn't it? But yeah, hearing it essentially as that is really cool.
Did you redo his introduction in No Fear?
Yes, I read No Fear earlier in the year
because
last year.
They introduce him because he is so old and he's lived so many lifetimes. He is introduced almost like a flicker frame picture book coming to rest, like here's an image, here's another one, and then it coalesces in this idea of wife, Couth, here, dung.
Yeah.
But you find out very soon that his wife died, but you're not sure how long ago his wife died, whether it was there, whether it was
it in Couth, was it a long time before? Yeah.
Hundreds.
I love the bit when
lives?
he's fitting a bayonet.
Yeah.
And he's like fitting about like that time of Austerlitz, or was it Verdun? And it's just like, and it's like he's been around a while, and he fought on the side of the French.
Yeah.
Verdun, fine, be French, but Austerlitz, come on now, should have been at Waterloo, should have been the other side. Brits weren't at Austerlitz, but and you don't want to be necessarily Russian or Austrian, but still.
He wasn't French though, because
he was. I guess the earliest you know of him is Greek, right?
Well,
the earliest you know of him.
Yeah, but you also know that he is 10,000 years. Is a few thousand years older than the Emperor. We know that. Yeah. And the Emperor was born old.
He's like 10,000-15,000 years older than the Emperor.
That's an Emperor of Mankind, like 5,000 BC. So it's
15,000 BC. Yeah.
There might have been countries back then, but France weren't one of them.
Probably somewhere like Mesopotamia. Probably. Cradle of civilization and all that.
I thought it was Atlantis. Atlantis was the cradle of civilization.
Where's it gone?
Well, what happened is they founded there was a catastrophe, probably an asteroid, Greenland, and then
Greenland was an asteroid. Is that what you're saying?
It hit Greenland.
You sound like RFK.
And then you have something called a thingy bob.
Yeah.
At the end of the thing, and it ended the Ice Age thing.
Yeah.
And then the water went up everywhere.
No.
And they tried to reseed, and they made the pyramids and things like that. And then we forgot all the things, and that was the cradle.
There you go.
Maybe he was an Atlantean, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think they deliberately keep it vague. I'd quite happily listen to a book of just him reminiscing about all the cool things he's done.
Who? All.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because obviously you get a ton of it. Like the whole thing with the labyrinth. And I love that he's, his whole story is essentially navigating a labyrinth again.
Because, Grammaticus is a young...
he's 29th millennium or something.
He remembers being born in a hive city.
Yeah.
So he
fought for the Emperor in the Unification Wars. Yeah.
Born in a hive city.
And that was the first... I was looking up at him the other day because I looked at sort of his background, because obviously he's in the Siege of Terror quite heavily, and it was his thing where basically he met the Emperor once in his first life, and the Emperor was like, because he realised he was a logger kind, so basically someone who's good with words, simple as that. And the Emperor's like, yeah, people like us should collaborate, basically. And John was like, yeah, all right. And then he got hit by a car. And that's how he died. And then he got picked up by Eldrad.
Hit by a car.
He got hit by a car, literally. Yeah.
Didn't he when John met him, and the Emperor said to him, we should work out what options are available for our kind, people of our kind, something like that. I forget the exact words, but it was along those words, the words that the Emperor spoke to John.
Yeah.
You and I need to consider what options people like us have.
Yeah.
And John saw his true visage and went, yep, nope, bye.
Bye.
Hit
by
as
car.
far away
Yeah.
from him as he possibly could.
Yeah. Zinch was driving. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I do also like at the beginning of... because you don't get many stories. Well, I haven't read many stories about them. I like at the beginning of Volume 2 of The End of the Death, you get like the Eldari perspective because they're there and it's going to affect them.
Yeah,
I was like, that's quite interesting, and all that kind of stuff.
I really like the Fabricated Generals a little bit as well.
Oh yeah,
his perspective.
The best part about that is like Kelbor
great.
House starts to scream, which is quite unlike him.
Yeah,
it's like
fantastic.
okay, yeah.
You mentioned Camber Diaz earlier on, though.
Yeah, there's some amazing Space Marine characters.
The last stand of Camber Diaz on the bridge where he draws the line behind him in the dust with his sword.
Not one backward step.
Oh, my
There's some amazing
Emperor.
Space Marine characters. Camber Diaz, Fafnir Ran, Shibun Khan.
Has there been any that made you shit your pants?
As in, like, because they were so cool?
Well, just shit your pants.
Probably Camber Diaz.
Yeah.
Yeah, that moment. Because I remember listening to that, and that was my first ever audiobook that had been narrated by Jonathan Keeble. And I was like, this guy's like leagues apart. And I was like, that's one of the reasons. I still think it's an amazing book, but at the time I was like, this might be Dan Abnett's finest work.
Yeah.
Actually, it was the reason I thought it was so good was purely because of Keeble's delivery. Even though Saturnine is an amazing book.
Well, when you've got Dan Abnett and either Toby Longworth or Jonathan Keeble put together,
yeah,
that's a match made in heaven right there.
Which is technically the Angels of Death series, isn't it? Because Dan Abnett did a lot of the consulting on that, and Jonathan Keeble and Toby Longworth are in it.
Yeah.
Not Angels of Death. I thought I said Astartes then. No, Angels of Death. Because Toby Longworth is the main dude, and Jonathan Keeble's the captain, the Terminator captain.
Yeah.
And then I always forget his name. I think it's Gareth Armstrong. The chat can confirm. The guy who narrates the Blood Angels books, like Devastation of Baal and stuff. He was the chaplain, which was a great choice for him.
Right.
Because he plays some really cool chaplains in like the Dante book and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, they had a good cast for that. And I like that GW just went, let's just get the guys who read our books.
I'm doing the series that I've read the most out of all the series is Eisenhorn Ravener. And now Eisenhorn, because I read it. And then Eisenhorn, and then you read it. And then 5 years later, you reread it. And then Beckwin came out.
Yeah.
It's like, so I'm going to reread it all on Beckwin.
Yeah.
And then Pariah came out, so I reread it all on Pariah.
The first Ravener book is my favourite of all of those. All of them. I mean, is it Pariah then Penitent for Beckwin?
Pariah then Penitent.
Penitent, I've only read it once. I do have the book, but that one to my memory was also awesome. But because it's everyone involved.
Penitent's one of the best books he's ever done.
Yeah,
it's up there with Saturnine and No Fear. It's incredible. The thing is, we're talking about audio. Like the first two are either Toby Longworth or the other guy, Jonathan Keeble. I think it's Jonathan Keeble does Eisenhorn Ravener, right? Does
he read those? I thought it was Toby Longworth that did Eisenhorn Ravener.
One of those guys does the first two. And I'm doing it on Audible for the first time because I've got this project that I'm doing that I can't talk about yet. And then I get to Beckwin and it's narrated by a lady and she's really good. And I don't know if you've listened to any of the, expanded audio things. They did a bunch of stuff during the Heresy where they had some music in the background, where they had some special effects in the background, they had different voice actors.
I've had the only book I know of the normal that had different voice actors was Saturnine. Is it the same woman who did Janisha Kroll?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
because like First Lord of the Imperium, you've got that in.
Yeah.
There's one with it starts off, it's actually called just The Sigillite, and it's about the Rosetta Stone. That does it as well. It's got the sound effects. It's got her in it. It's got him in it. Cool. Anyway, it gets to... So you do Eisenhorn Ravener, boom, and then all of a sudden it switches to her. Which is she's narrating sometimes Eisenhorn and Everett. But it's all from Beckwin's point of view. Anyway, she's really good as well. And it really changes the tone.
I'm going to find out who she is, because I think it's Emma Thompson.
I forgot how good it was. Anyway, so yeah.
Beckwin Part 3 when?
We don't know. It's probably been delayed because of the major impacts it's going to have to the 40k sphere.
11th edition alignment or something.
There's going to be an alignment. There's going to be a launch.
Yeah.
With it. I'd much rather, if they change the narrative, that they do it this way, letting the creative people create stuff.
That's the way to do it.
Rather than Games Workshop saying, hey, we're going to bring back Guilliman now. And so some people in the workshop come together with the Gathering Storm and they do that. And then now you can't get that book series anymore and it comes out. And then now we've got Guilliman. No. Make it part of a crescendo. Yeah. When you bring back the Lion, when you bring back Vulcan, when get
a narrative series that lets you get to the point. Yeah.
Exactly. Let ADB go mad on some like Vulcan sort of part 1, part 2 and his Reborn and and some calamitous event, and then tie that in with 12th edition, and suddenly Vulcan's back fighting this guy.
Yeah, release the book like 2-3 weeks before, because the internet are going to read it and they're going to shout about it 2-3 weeks before, and then they're like, holy crap, in this book Vulcan's back, and then 3 weeks later it's like, here's his mini. Off you go. Something like that.
Vulcan comes back, and oh shit, Vulcan's back, right? And then what you do is 2 weeks after that you do the teaser for 11th edition launch.
Yeah.
So say the book comes out in February, 2 weeks later, teaser for 12th edition launch, and it's got Vulcan in it. And then 2 weeks after that, the proper trailer for 12th edition, which is coming in a month's time. Yeah. And it's got Vulcan fighting the Thing.
And your starter box is Salamanders versus whatever.
The whole of the community is just coming down off the back of this huge trilogy, and Chris Raitt wrote part 1 and Dan Abnett wrote part 2 and ADB finished off part 3, and it's the return of Vulcan beating the crap out of, say he Highfleet, give the Imperium a break. Say he turns up like a G and stops Highfleet Leviathan in its tracks with some new Dark Age technology stuff. That's why he's been a bit distant for the last few thousand years.
Be good for that,
he didn't, and boom, and then you have the launch of a new edition, and he's there, and he's got some new kit with him. So sell us our things again. They'll sell us all of our things again.
Yeah, because at the moment I was thinking about this the other day. We're in a situation.
Bring the Khan back, and he finally Jules Fulgrim says, Blood Buffalo, thank you for your donation. Thank you.
Honestly,
see, that's what I mean. But have the Khan coming back, dueling Fulgrim.
He would destroy him
in the apex of a book in the Black Library, and then and then a month later they launch like, it's edition 13 and it's the Khan and Fulgrim side by side on a box.
Yeah, having a crack at each other. I'd like to have a joint Korax Lorgar release, just to have Korax as like a loyalist demon prince. We've talked about this, but what was I saying? I was thinking the other day.
I did the whole
about 40k as a setting.
Right.
So up until 8th edition, 40k, you could basically, with any chapter anywhere, you could go anywhere in the galaxy. Say you played Blood Angels.
Yes.
Didn't matter that they were from Baal. You could go to the southern half of the galaxy and have a scrap, and then you could take that same force, like your same captain and friends, and go north of the galaxy.
Thank you for 27 months as well, Friendly Neighborhood Inquisitor.
With the Great Rift smashing through.
Yes.
It's a little bit harder narratively to keep jumping back and forth with your games. Like if you're running like a narrative campaign, I can't, without making loads of stuff up around it, like why would this happen, blah blah blah, because warp shenanigans can only take you so far in terms of a narrative. My Blood Angels can't jump down to the south of the galaxy and have some Ultramarines as friends and have a fight, and then jump back to the north and fight alongside whoever. So it's hard. And that's the first time in the narrative, whilst they've driven it forward, it's the first time in the narrative where it's slightly limiting sometimes for your personal story in that space. So I think I'd agree when you said Vulcan comes back or whatever, whoever comes back, I think Valdor would be a good one to do it with.
Valdor King,
come back and like tidy something up slightly. Keep it grim, keep it dark is what you do, but give the Imperium a break. So then you have that little bit of narrative freedom again, where it's like, okay, the Rift is still in the centre of the galaxy, but there's now, other than just like Vigilus, there's a couple more pockets where you can safely get through, because Valdor's come back and messed with some Necron technology because he learned stuff through his spear and and he's closed parts of it off. Is he on the Imperium side? Don't know, but they've had a break. Like that kind of thing. Just to sort of, because you could tell they had maybe perhaps a part of an idea of where they were going, and then they just stopped. And it's like, guys, like there's more to tell. Like Great Rift is awesome, but like let's tell more of a story.
I don't think that's how the Great Rift happened at all.
Well, you don't think someone wrote it? You just think it happened, and because of the Necron pylons?
No, that Games Workshop didn't have a plan for afterwards. So because remember when it came out originally, 8th edition dropped. Suddenly, this Great Rift had happened, ripping the galaxy in two, and it was set 200 years after. The Indomitus
they backpedaled fast,
campaign was over.
It's done.
Guilliman had been triumphant and unified the southern galaxies, and it was set 200 years later.
Is the Dawn of Fire series any good?
And halfway through 8th edition, they retconned it, say, actually, no, it's still ongoing. We're in that bit.
Yeah, because why would you skip that? It's awesome. Basically, I think what they were trying to do is like do a Great Crusade.
Well,
do a thing where they're like, oh yeah, Great Crusade, skip it. We start the Horus Heresy. So we started in Plague Wars.
Well, lots of things happened. Like, I think it was affecting... The writers were saying, okay, so what happened to the Grey Knights 200 years after this thing? What were they doing? Surely there must have... Demons are there, right there, in the galaxy.
The time skip is a weird choice.
It shocked me that we still haven't had that Grey Knight massive... They are going ham right now with the Great Rift. 200 years later, he's unified the thing. Okay, why is the church still around? It's 200 years after It opened up too many questions because Games Workshop didn't know what they were doing at the time. They didn't think it through at the time. Let's have a Great Rift. Let's have the Indomitus Crusade. Let's have it going on now. And then you can bring back the line. You can bring stuff back. You can make it part of a...
It's a Great Crusade Part 2. He's finding Primarchs as they're reclaiming worlds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So here's the thing. When I was listening to the audiobook, right? The Emperor's configurations. There's a chapter in Penitent, and it comes up, configuration 6,400,000, blah, 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 blah. And the chapter just starts, and it's about what she's doing, and and then it ends. And it struck me, like, because other chapter titles are like, he stabs her with the thing, and boom, crash, explosions, and bad guy, chaos beast. And this chapter title was configuration 6,400,000. I'm like, the math playing, the Emperor playing 4D regicide, 8D regicide, Is Dan Abnett saying that point in that chapter in Penitent, bear in mind the Yellow King and the significance, was part of configuration 6,400,000?
Because the Emperor
had the Emperor thought about 10,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Because it's not a plan. He's got plans and plans and plans and plans. A plan that happens if that falls apart, and if that falls apart, then a secondary plan, and then the configurations 6,400,000, and that's the name of a chapter. And I listened to the end of the thing, and it says configuration, and then it starts the next one. I paused. What are you saying to me, Dan? Rewind. No, I didn't mishear that, and it cracked on.
Yeah. No,
and
cool.
So that being said, the resurrection of all the Primarchs and the bad guy Primarchs and the Emperor stirring on his throne, this is all part of a longer term. They're suggesting there's a longer term plan that took 10,000 years to gestate. Yeah. And I submit to the court that 10,000 year plan was faith. Get faith to such a powerful thing.
Because in the warp it's manifest and Yeah, human emotion in the warp. Faith is a human emotion
in the
warp.
Pariah Nexus.
Yeah.
The only thing that can function well in the Pariah Nexus is the Sisters of Battle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Faith carries.
Well, it's like the whole thing as well. Even in the 9th edition launch trailer, the sister heals herself.
Yeah.
She prays and her hand heals. And it's like, yeah, and obviously we've got the gaming mechanics of like
Liberty, thank you to 13th Tier 3. Killer Kriegsman, welcome to 13th Tier 1. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Killer Kriegsman's back
I think it's cool. I think it'd be really cool to have the Emperor leave the throne at some point. It doesn't need to be anything crazy, but I think it'd be cool.
Thank you, gift of membership. Thank you. What?
You could do an old world 40k then. Technically, you already do with the Great Heresy, but you could, if they wanted to keep the stagnation story, which is the kind of the big thing of 40k. But the weird thing is that when prior to 8th edition, you were in stagnation 40k. It was the end of an empire. It's the whole point. It takes 10,000 years for an empire to die. Where at that point, with Guilliman coming back and the Indomitus Crusade, you're no longer in that stagnation. It's not great for them, but you're no longer. You can't be in stagnation. Something has changed. So I would love to see it like we see this story, and it can take 10 years. I don't care. It already has taken 7 or something. So you go along that route, and then at the end of it, they go, cool. We've taken you on the journey. This is where 40k is now. It's not great. No one's having a good time, but the Imperium could live, and there's reasons it could grow and change. So
thank you for your donation, Blood Buffalo. Appreciate you. Thank you. Bare Bones, Fulgrim Kid, Bobby. Ruined the Imperium. About to beat Bobby again. Hope is lost. Enter the Khan. Time to see who would win, brother. Look, they're all coming back.
Most of them.
Here's the thing. Games Workshop's master plan. Do you want to hear it?
Make money.
Make money. Okay.
Make money.
Games
Mo money, no problems.
Mo money, mo problems. How to make mo money. This is their master plan. They figured out in the 80s, 90s and noughties that if they sold Space Marines and tanks, they would make money.
Mm.
They sold Space Marines and tanks. They sold so many Space Marines and tanks, they were able to start another game
About Space Marines and tanks.
and they sold us more Space Marines and tanks for chapters that we already have.
Yeah.
And all they did was put it in a different timeline.
We might end up with 3 far future games.
So we've got the Space Marines and tanks in 40k. We've got the Space Marines and tanks in Heresy. And I do not put it past them that in a decade's time, in 20 years' time, or maybe in 2 months.
Who knows?
I don't put it past them to have 30k, Warhammer 40k, and Warhammer the New Crusade.
Something like
and
that,
it's got the Emperor in it, it's got Primarchs in it, it's got the return of the Rangdan genocide, it's got a Leviathan going full on it's a new dark glory. And do you know what
But
they
all
will
your
do?
heroes are there, yeah.
They will sell Space Marines and tanks again. And people like you and me who've already got the same space. You've got red Space Marines and tanks from 40k and red Space Marines and tanks for the same army in 30k.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the army that you already had the Space Marines and tanks for.
And I've got white Space Marines and tanks and stuff for 40k, and I've just started painting white Space Marines and tanks for technically 30k. Though the intent was for 40k, but they're the same models.
And say they released Warhammer 40k Crusade. And in it's got the Emperor, and it's got Sanguinius reborn as some sort of demon, warpy, infused dude with new blood angels with wings of fire, rampaging across the battlefield.
And it would be, that's how they bring it back. If they were ever going to bring back an aspect of Sanguinius, it would be the merge of the Sanguinor and Dante.
They'll sell you
and
all
Mephiston,
your things again,
right?
and some kind of cured, red-thirsting, death-raging. You know, like they're all Mephiston cured guys because Sanguinius is back. And
yeah, it could do. I mean, they technically have brought. Someone asked earlier, like, how would they bring Horus and Sanguinius back? We spoke about Sanguinius then. Horus technically already did come back. Not the Horus, but there was a version of Horus that came back in one of ADB's books.
Yeah, and also Ferrus Manus. The thing about
Ferrus Manus came back.
Yeah, I mean, Fabius Bill cloned him about 48 times.
Fabulous did, yeah.
There's a bunch of... The reason why Abaddon's got the Talon of Horus is because he took it from the clone of Horus.
Yeah.
And killed him and forged the Black Legion. That's established law. That's how come he's got his thing.
Those as well.
The thing about the Primarchs, when they have been reborn as clones and things, is they always go bad, they always go mad, they always explode, implode. They don't work.
Because they haven't got that spark.
They don't have a soul.
Yeah.
The thing that the Emperor stole from the fire from the gods, that the Emperor took from Moloch, was souls. Was a little bit of demon soul. A little bit of human. It's the Sea of Souls. The warp is the Sea of Souls.
Yeah.
He went in there, he took it, stuffed it into a
Primarch. Previously the warp was just where your soul goes to live, for lack of a better term, and then as the warp became what we know it as in the 41st millennium and the 31st millennium, that's when they started namming on souls.
It was the missing ingredient. It made the Primarchs
Primarch. What's the reason Jagatai Khan lives? We spoke about this. It's the fact, like any other... So, spoilers for Warhawk, the book. But Jagatai Khan is... Give him a second now. Jagatai Khan is dead at the end of the book. 100% dead. The only reason he is still recoverable is because Malkador and the Emperor can see his soul tethered because of that spark of warp energy that is in every Primarch. They can stitch his soul essentially back onto his body and then start the recovery process, because he is, as by all like human measurings, dead. But because he's a Primarch and because he has that sort of, what do they call it? They call it, they have some word for it, that otherworldly thing that all the Primarchs have, they can fix him. So yeah. And I like that. I like that that they actually killed someone off and said, actually, if you're quick enough, you can bring him back. Obviously, for people like Manus, nobody there to help him.
No.
We were talking the other day about Vulcan specifically in 30k, where the lore prior to the books coming out, Vulcan died at Istvan 5.
Yeah.
And then it was the book coming out. Literally, they just dropped a book, Vulcan lives, and everyone was like, whoa.
Yeah, the community didn't know. It was understood that... So... The community, all the thing beforehand was that Corax, Ferrus, and Vulcan all died.
And the legions were shattered, yeah.
In the Dropsite Massacre. But before the Vulcan Lives books came out, we'd known historically that Ferrus Manus had been beheaded by Lorgar. Fulgrim. Yeah. So they still gave us that. But there was already leaks and ideas that Corax somehow escaped. Sneaky Raven Guard somehow escaped, right? So, but it was always confirmed Vulcan died. Atomic fire, Isfahan. He died. And then the book dropped. Vulcan lives. And the community, and we were like, wow, it was amazing. The idea that he lived.
Yeah. And then they brought him back into the War of the Beast, which isn't the best series in the world, but it is cool, isn't it?
Also written into the main history was he didn't take any part in the Siege of Terror. He didn't, because he lives and because he died on Isfahan 5. That's what the Greater Imperium knows. But we know that he got back to the Emperor's throne room and didn't pretty much go beyond the edge of the Emperor's throne room because he needed to be there.
Yeah, I'm just at the part in Volume 2 where... it was like maybe an hour or two before where I am now, but it's where Vulcan has to give the unspoken sanction, and I was like, that's why he doesn't show himself afterwards, because that breaks him, because he's ultimately, of all the Primarchs, he's the kind one. He's the one who cares most about humanity, and the fact that he's the one who has to make that decision to, in his view, callously destroy people.
That breaks him. Dawn below the wall for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, and then Constantine with the spear. Every time he
59 seconds or whatever,
he knows more. Yeah. The point that the end and the death is trying to make is it's the end and the death of everything. Dawn is never the same again. Vulcan is never the same again. Valdor is never the same again. The Primarchs who emerge from that conflict are nothing like the Primarchs that went in to that conflict before. Vulcan is a bitter, enraged old man who wants nothing to do with the Imperium.
Just going to do some gardening.
Basically tries to kill himself in the War of the Beast, wiping out the biggest things, because he must want to die at this stage. Dawn, well, we know what happens to him. Yeah, goes off on a suicidal rampage, and Valdor we never knew, but it kind of makes sense of where he might be right now. And
too much knowledge,
pandemonium.
Yeah, he learned too much and has now gone his own way. And I particularly like, obviously it's a bit more on the nose, but Guilliman is racked by guilt. His whole thing, like, the reason you get it in that because we have him in 40k, you can get some more of that. But it's the fact he was late, or in his opinion, he's late, or I didn't make it. And you get it in War and the Beast as well, actually, when Guilliman's already gone at that point. Or sleeping for 10,000 years. You have like Ultramarines chapter masters going to, because Terra say, come and help us, we've got these orcs coming, and then the chapter master is still so fresh for that entire chapter's psyche at that point. They're like, we'll not be late again, we will not be late again. And they're like, last time we didn't make it in time, that will not happen again. So it's interesting, and I feel like I'd hope there's more they could do with that for like Guilliman, like have him so racked because he was late, not through his own fault, but he was. So it was warp trickery.
Was he late?
It doesn't matter whether he was or wasn't, because I guess all the end of the book it goes into all the reasons why actually he's not. He got there in plenty of time, but Horus is doing what he does with the warp. But Guilliman might feel he's late, and that's the whole thing. It's perceived. But
they made a plan. Guilliman, Sanguinius, and the Lion were together in Imperium Secundus. They were there. They had a plan. They knew what they wanted to do, and they executed it. So they couldn't. They did what they did. I mean, it's Guilliman's plan as well. So if anyone could do a spreadsheet and come up with a nice flow chart, look, this is the way we should approach this.
I'm rereading.
I think when you say Guilliman's wrapped by Gil, and then obviously you've got the Russ and the Lion wanting to kill Corax and all that stuff. There's all sorts of stuff that went on afterwards. But there is also a massive division between the Primarchs who didn't make it and the Primarchs who were in that hellscape.
Yes. Yeah. The three that were on the ground for the loyalists, and then what was it, 4 for the others?
They've been changed irrevocably. So
yeah, I like the whole bit around Sanguinius where like he's off to fight Horus, and more spoilers, and he's already dead. Angron has killed him, like the poisoned blade. It literally says it's like, and Horus, when it's doing Horus's sort of point of view, you can't trust much of what Horus says, but he's basically a god at that point. He's like, you can see it in his blood. Angron has already killed Sanguinius because Sanguinius won't stop and rest. So Angron's poisons is killing him. And then one thing, it took me sort of a while. I had to go and sort of like look up on it and see what other people were saying, like look on Reddit. Like Sanguinius, like the whole story back in the day was like he put the chink in Horus's armor that the Emperor could exploit. He doesn't do anything like that.
No.
He's just toyed with and killed. And it's like, but the whole point about Sanguinius there, and it's like the flip of mindset. It's not like, oh, he wasn't the reason the Emperor won. He did buy time for the Emperor, and that's massive. But to do the Dark King storyline. But also he is just a character who people liked, who was a hero.
Nope.
Like, he stood against it and
Nope.
fought to the end.
No.
No.
Sanguinius had to divide because in Warhammer 40k, in the lore, one of the rules in this universe is, no Harry Potter wizardry. There's laws in universe. One of the laws in the 40k universe is symbols matter. Nuncia matters. The patterns of chaos symbols matter.
Well,
the number 6,
Malcador's
7,
thing,
8,
yeah,
9, or 8 of 8, or 8 because the legacy 8.
Yeah.
The numbers, names. A
They're
custody
better
just
than words.
doesn't have one name, it has many
Thousands,
names,
yeah.
because if you know all their names, it gives you power over them. The power of names. Names matter, words matter, symbols matter, things matter.
Repetition matters.
It matters.
Yeah.
It's part of the structural law of the 40k universe, and then magic can either do things to break it, bust it, twist it, remake it, all these things matter. And there had to be a sacrifice at the beginning, Ferrus Manus. There had to be a sacrifice at the end, Sanguinius.
To close the loop. Is that the idea?
It's exactly the same thing with what happened to Loken at the end with Erebus to close the loop, the birth of Samus, when is a demon
I
fully
wasn't sure
born.
about that when I first read it, but it works.
When's a demon fully born? So, for example, Slanesh was born into our material universe in M25.
But it's always been there.
But in the warp,
Yeah.
the warp has no time, it's eternal. Slanesh has always been there, but didn't manifest into our warp. But also in the warp, Khorne came first, and all the other demons in their law respect that Khorne came first at first. There was always war. There's symbols, there's symbology, everything matters. And it was all part of the Ruinous Powers plan to bring about the apotheosis of the Dark King, either through Horus or through the Emperor.
Yeah.
That's all their plan is
Because
about.
that would wipe out,
And they had the demon at the beginning, the end, and the death. They had Samus at the end with Loken and the birth, and the birth of things. You had Ferrus at the beginning, you had Sanguinius at the end. So people who think, well, he went in there and he didn't do the chink in Horus's armor, so it's not a significant story, that wasn't a significant sacrifice, miss the point that the end of the... It's not about Sanguinius sacrificing himself to kill the Emperor. It's about Sanguinius being the triumphant end note for chaos, just as Ferrus Manus was the triumphant start note for chaos, which brought their thing to apotheosis right at the very end. And it's only the humanity of man, only the normal man, old Pearson, saying, well, have a think a second.
Yeah, use your godly powers. Stop being a god. Yeah.
The one thing that you said you wouldn't take away from the Primarchs, which is their essential soul, their feeling, their humanity, because you could have.
Yeah, because Sanguinius asks why in book
why
1,
do we suffer?
Yeah.
Why do we suffer?
Because I wouldn't deny that to you.
And he said, look, I could have made you so you didn't. And he actually takes them on this whole dream journey thing. I would have, but that would have made you less. And also, who are we not fighting for if we're not fighting for humanity?
Yeah.
Because part of the Emperor's project, he said, my project wasn't just to it was also, I was rebuilding the genome from the ground up. The human, what did it mean to be human after the Navigators, after the Astropaths, after the mutant barbarian hordes that had ruled on Terra for thousands and thousands of years, with people like Foe making these genetic aberrations. Is that a human? Is that a human?
Yeah.
What does it mean to be human? He was, and he says it himself, and Macador also says it in another book, that they were literally repairing the humankind from a DNA basis upwards.
Yeah.
That's what he was doing.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's all so interesting.
And he was doing that against the great dark powers who are trying to bring about
Dark King,
a new chaos god who is foretold and will come and will result in the death of our species, because the last time...
Well, the Slanesh was the Eldari.
So Slanesh was the Eldari.
The Dark King is supposed to be
Before
humanity,
then you had the first war in heaven and the manifestation of the main gods.
Yeah.
First war in heaven. So the realm of chaos was a part of the warp. The warp was vast.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the first war in heaven, the differences between the realms got... Because there's still realms now, like Nurgle in his garden somewhere, Khorne on his throne somewhere.
Yeah.
There's still realms. But the boundaries around the Realm of Chaos was broken, and now the Realm of Chaos is the entire warp. That happened at the First War in Heaven. So the First War in Heaven,
was a dinosaur 60 million years.
The old ones, and Malcolm himself says it, when a suitably sufficient, technologically advanced race gets to a certain thing, the warp comes along and screws them.
Yeah.
And it happened to the old ones.
It's like the Mass Effect storyline.
Yeah. And it's going to happen to humanity as well.
The Reapers.
And the Dark King will be born.
Yeah. Or not. Who knows? Yeah. Because you can never stop it, but you can confuse. Like, literally, that's the whole point of the volume 2 of the end of that. So it's always going to happen, but then sometimes it doesn't. It's such a strange one.
The Emperor believes he can beat him. That's the thing, though. So maybe you can stop it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe stopping it has something to do with an Eldar webway and having an army of pariahs that can go out there and murder every single astropath, navigator, psycho-able person in the entire galaxy, and maybe eradicate religion so people believe in science. And that's maybe he had a plan, and there was a lot of configurations he needed to work with.
And he needed a plan. I have a plan.
He nearly made it. He's having a rest for a bit. Breather coming in for round 2.
10,000 years is a blink to everyone else. Yeah.
I mean, he took a breather after his previous big bout of exertation where he destroyed a Catan and buried it below Mars, knowing that configuration would eventually lead to, hey, look, there's a big factory there. I don't want to put the factory just in Birmingham. No. Most of the factories are in Birmingham. What I'll do is turn Mars into a factory, and they can make all the guns and the bullets and the tanks.
And use less coal in Birmingham.
He took a bit of a breather after that one. That was a bit of a...
Wasn't he supposed to be like... It was like the Middle Ages or something silly at that point. Like...
George and the Dragon.
Yeah.
That myth.
So it could have been whenever. Because George and the Dragon's been around for millennia. Like, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, no,
it's a long game.
So here we go. What's the significance? Obviously, I understand who he is. But it might be explained in sort of the back end of the book I'm listening to, because it was a while ago I listened to it. Or in part 3, what's the significance of Leto being the prototype Marine? Is it just because he's the template for the tarot cards?
Template.
That's it. It's just because he's the template Space Marine.
There was more than one as well. Like Endred Har. So you can get his miniature now.
Which one's he?
Endred Har is a World Eater captain.
But Leto isn't anybody.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by the template, because I know like Eldred Har is one of the outcast dead, kind of,
So before they actually came up with Space Marines, they tried a few things out. And Leto, I mean, Erda says, oh yeah, he's mine, I made him. So
the first one, first successful.
Prototype, I prefer template.
yeah.
Which is really cool. But they tried other things. Like Endred Har, there was like 8 of them, I forget the name, 8 or 9, and then Leto is now in the lore. So you can imagine there's Leto made, then the 8 and the 9, and they have a name, I forget what. And there must be a couple of other bits. What they did with Endred Har was, you know how they made Thunder Warriors?
Yeah.
They were like, okay, this is what we'll do is we'll make this Thunder Warrior, and now we'll turn him into a Space Marine and give him all the bits he needs.
Oh, okay, so he's an upgrade.
Yeah.
And then he becomes a World Eater because of Gene Seed, or what? What's going on there?
And then, okay, he's fine. He's a Thunder Warrior that was made into a Space Marine. Great, we did that.
Is that why he's a bit chunkier? And
that's why he's toughness 5 and everyone else is toughness 4.
Right.
That's why That's why in Saturnine, after Abaddon killed him, Abaddon kept killing him because he wouldn't die. Even though he had smashed his head into the wall and stabbed the thing, he wasn't dead. He was still fighting him when he was dead. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
But they made him, but they also made another fella with a different type of gene variation, another fella, and then we stick with that one, and then they started doing and then Endred Har joined. Right, you joined. There wasn't any legions then, so he was in the first, and then when they broke apart into legions, he joined.
Shows the one you like best. Yeah.
The point being is making Thunder Warriors and then making them Astartes was obviously a way they chose not to go.
Too expensive or whatever.
Or too time consuming. And
or
there's other ways they could have gone. And it looks like the Leto template is the template they used.
But I mean, in terms of like symbology and significance, there's the whole bit like subline about Act A talking about the Psychers with all.
Yes.
Talking about like we're all she assumes or thinks they're all like a type of person. So you've got like the human, you've got the whatever, you've got the Space Marine template, you've got whatever. what is the significance in the final throne? Because you've got the Emperor, you've got Loken, you've got Leto, and basically Jon and Old hopping in and out in the Horus fight in the third book. Now, I haven't listened to it in a while, so it might just be made very clear when I actually probably listen to it. What is the significance? Because Loken's like the father-son dynamic, which is a mirror of the father-son dynamic.
Yeah.
So I can see where that and also narrative arc is nice.
Yeah.
What's Leto's significance of being in that throne room at the end? Like, is there a symbol behind it, or is it just because he just happens to survive because Abnett was like, he's a space marine, he's all right? I don't know.
Well, the thrones are for what? Dawn, Valdor, Sanguinius, and him. So yeah, I mean, at the end, there's a few people who could have potentially been there and survived that fight.
Yeah.
There's a couple. Grammaticus is... Well, there's a couple that, let's just say, managed to get out for various reasons. Why? So what's this? Leto. I don't think there's any significance with Leto doing the Leto other than he's there.
Have the first Space Marine there at the end of it all. Yeah.
Leto was the name of the real-world prototype NGW of the first model Space Marine. It's an Easter egg confirmed. Yeah. Dan Abnett said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
cool.
you, Blood Buffalo.
It's a cool Easter egg. Yeah. I like it. I like it when they do stuff like that. But I was also just curious, like, because when they do when Araman is doing his tarot cards with Cinderman, and Mauer and all that, his cards are showing the actual thing. So like the Hulk is the vengeful spirit and all this stuff, and it shows I forgot the name of the card, but one of them is Leto. Yeah. And then the moon is Loken, and so on and so on, and it's showing the actual people. Yeah.
That's the symbols reverberating. It's the reverberating.
Yeah.
There has to be the maze.
I think it's the warrior or something.
There's always the maze. There's always the journey, like old Pearson
the labyrinthine path was old person with the torch.
There's always, there's always the soldier. There's always the tower. There's always these. Yeah. And that's the other thing that Dan Abnett was doing, is like these mythologies resonate down through human history. So that's why you have Ol there narrating it. And I think that's why Leto, these are echoes in time of, there is a tower, there is a mountain, there is a lightning strike, these.
But yeah, the lightning tower you wouldn't get unless you'd listened to...
That's Dan Abnett as well.
Yeah, well...
It's called The Lightning Tower, and it's a great short story.
It's right. But doesn't Ol think about it when Jon is shown the Annuncia? Yeah. Because that's the same... No, that's where... But a different tower. It was another tower it had Annuncia in. Yeah. And then Ol had a go at the Emperor. Is that the Lightning Tower? Or is that a different tower that just happens to also have Ol in it?
It's yes and yes.
I don't think I've seen the short story.
The Lightning Tower exists at a couple of levels, both metaphorically, symbolically, and in actuality in the 40k universe. It depends on which one you're referring to, sir.
There's a lot of towers by the sound of it,
yeah.
Yeah. The only tower I remember is the one that they mention in Warhawk or something like that, where, he shows Jon around and there's like Annuncia, and Jon's like, wow, they had just Annuncia written down.
Babel, the Tower of Babel and all
that was it, yeah, so that's not Lightning Tower. Different tower.
It's a different tower.
But Tower of Babel's in lots of scripture and stuff, isn't it? So
yes.
Yeah, so that's the significance of that one.
Well, in the beginning was, and again, 40k universe, right? In the beginning was the word. It's because Annuncia are words that can speak reality into or out of existence. It's the language of gods.
It's like splitting atoms, but it's a word. Yeah, and all that. It's the makeup of Latin. It's the primordial creation, like the language of creation, isn't it? Basically,
yes,
that's what it is. Yeah.
It's the language of creation. It can also be sounds, numbers. It can be.
That's why when Jon's just like, they just had it written down.
Yeah, it can be expressed numerically as well. And that's always like they had it written.
It's written down. Yeah.
The second book, Ravenna Rogue, is about them using an entire city to try and find one word of Annuncia or partial bits of Annuncia and trying to do that. It's hardly anyone knows about it in the entire of the universe, and those that do know about it completely dismiss it because it's one of those silly things. And there's only, out of all of that lot, there's literally, it's one of those things where there's maybe 10 or 20 people in the whole of the 40k universe, it might be less than 10, who are living, who know about it, the significance of it, and just how powerful it is.
And one's a dude on a throne.
That's not including those that might have access to it in Pandemonium with the Yellow King.
We have no idea, do we? I mean, if anyone's going to learn it,
Well, it's
through
someone
stabbing folks
again and again and again and again. True names. I mean,
Yeah.
the Book of Merity Chas that the guy's deciphering in that series. So she gets the Book of Merity and gives it to the dude. He deciphers the Book of Merity Chas, and it's millions and millions of characters long, written in hexamagrammic, which is the language of the Mechanicum. You know, like we talk like this.
It's like Binaric or whatever. Right?
We talk using two consonants and vowels.
Yeah.
It's a something language. It's called the spoken language of the Mechanicum when they want it, because they can talk in binaric, but they can talk to each other that no one else can understand. It's hexamagrammic. So ours has got consonant and vowels. It's got two types of theirs has got 8. And that's
because they've got the modulated chords and stuff, so they can do that.
It's because they're the Mechanicum and they just like fucking with you.
Do what they want. Yeah. Fair enough.
They have a language that they're only there are smart enough to.
Yeah.
And this book, the Book of Lillian Chase, has got millions of characters in it, and it's the full name of Constantine Valdor.
See, the
names
bit
matter.
The bit that I love that they let GW clearly trust Dan Abnett to the point they let him do this. The Archivist in
Lillian Chase.
Yeah, and it's like you don't obviously like. I've not got to that point in the book yet, but I've listened to it. But so it's just.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I didn't know she was that far back.
See,
like compared to
about Games Workshop trusting him.
Well, just do what he wants.
Games Workshop, the stuff that we're talking about when it's like the Horus Heresy or the first Tyrannic War.
They made it, I suppose, isn't it? Like the Black Library writers made it. Yeah.
The writers made it. And the artists like John Blanche drawing it brought it to life.
Yeah.
The fact
I guess the other Black Library writers then, like the fact they're like, hey Dan, you can include your character from your other series if you want. Like that's fine.
Games Workshop are sitting on all these miniatures and all this IP from all that lore that they didn't turn around as a professional manager going, hi, you now have to think about this world. And they didn't. No. So what that company should do is let the people who are good at it go for it.
No, I agree. Yeah, so maybe not GW. I'm thinking of the entity. Maybe probably other Black Library writers being like, because it's their series. They all own that series.
It's amazing that they don't do it more often. And what you're saying is it's amazing that they're doing it now with Dan Abnett. And what I'm saying is they should be talking to Dan Abnett and ADB and Chris Raitt and people like that and saying, what do you want to bring to life?
Yeah, because we can make miniatures about it. Yeah, because their old model, or their current model, I suppose, maybe they are doing this shift. I hope they are. Is the design team make a model they like, and then the rules team go, okay.
Yeah.
And then once they've done the design and the rules, then the other guys go, oh, I guess we'll stick it in a book.
Now you've got to.
And then Belisarius Cool made a million newspaper.
Yeah.
There we go. That's what you get when they let that old method go.
And
whereas if you let someone like Dan Abnett or any of the Black
I'll give you another idea. You let someone like Saber Interactive get hold of it, and you get characters like Titus back.
Yeah.
Let people who want to create do the creating, and we get Titus, we get Loken, we get stuff. And the studios focus on making all the stuff that's really good right now and building on the stuff that you've got, but don't try and do anything creative from the studio outwards. Let creative people do the creating. And the studio,
Yeah. No, I agree, and I'm hoping they continue to go that route. It's a weird one. They're in a strange situation where if they do go that route, and it seems they are, like if they're letting Dan Abnett, as he said, he hasn't told us what it is because obviously the book hasn't come out and might not for a while. But he's like, I can't believe they're letting me do this. Basically, like he's changing the law or making something massive happen where he's tied his Inquisitor series together with the Siege of Terror, and he's got something planned. So it seems to me they're going that route, but it's just odd to me that they can go that route with their creative process and be like super narrative focused, and yet their rule set is still entirely competitive based. How do you reconcile those two things together?
Yeah.
Like you've got this amazing story, and that's the reason everyone gets into the world. No one gets into 40k to play competitively to begin with. They get into 40k because they love the stories, the characters, the models, the paint, whatever. They get into that, and that's the hook. And yet the rules for their flagship system don't reflect that narrative hook.
You're just highlighting how perfectly Games Workshop is disjointed.
Yeah,
how it doesn't talk to each other.
Yeah.
So you made an excellent point, And an excellent point. They don't talk to each other. Here's another example. Space Marine 2, massive success, blah, blah, blah. What did Games Workshop do in and around that event? Where is the... Where are the miniatures? Where are the things? Where are the stuff? Why aren't they celebrating?
It takes
Where are
5-6 years to make a game.
Why aren't they giving away codes? Why aren't they paying Luton and Jack Frags and people like that to play that game? Where was the push? Games Workshop, like it was a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh, Space Marine 2's out. Oh, it's gone. You know, they don't talk to each other. And that side and that, they don't talk to each other. Another way they don't talk to each other is there's got departments in 40k making stuff and departments making other games. And they're not allowed to borrow their miniatures. And they're not allowed to borrow their miniatures because they're on a different cost data sheet balance flow.
Yeah. So
they can't make up a system where, well, we could use some of your demons and some. No. You got. So now we've got a Fulgrim demon in 30k and 40k coming.
Yeah.
And we've got an Angron demon in 40k and the Angron demon in 30k. Yeah. We've got 2 demon Primarchs. We're waiting for other Primarchs, by the way, like the Khan, like Vulcan. I know you've still got to wait. We're waiting for other Primarchs, but we've got the 2 of the same demon Primarchs and 2 of the same demon Primarchs because these 2 departments are not allowed to help each other.
Well, I mean, even
that's how disjointed
even the
this
one
company is.
Even the one department.
Thank you for your one sub there, Andy H. Thank you for your one sub. Even the one department.
The one department. So, like, the good thing they do is, like, they bring Be'lakor.
Yes, Be'lakor.
And he can be used in AOS.
He's lovely.
But you can't use him in Heresy. So they're like, okay, here's Be'lakor. He's awesome. He's on a round base, which is all our game systems apart from one.
Yeah.
And he can be used in AOS and 40k because we're the same.
Yeah.
But then we're going to need a different Be'lakor for Horus Heresy or Old World because they're similar. It's
well,
like that's what you're saying.
Because AOS and 40k are the main rules to put them. And
Circle
everyone
Base
else
Club,
is in the Specialist Games.
Yeah, Specialist Games Lab.
And they're not allowed to help each other.
No, and that's so...
Which is why things got legended and other things got disbanded. It's because people were buying this for that system and buying that for that system, and it was screwing up their balance of accounts.
And
they didn't know
money.
They didn't know who was making the more money and whether you were making budget or whether you guys did the budget. I know what we'll do is we'll say to about 20% of all the players out there that those miniatures that you're playing with, you can't play with them anymore. And now we've got this nice split divide. Oh no, look, Kevin's doing better than Barb. And
but
that's
it doesn't
why
work
that came about.
because they go, here's the Old World guys, and then everyone's like, cool, I'm going to use those fun AOS models I'd have never played with otherwise and pull them across. Because that's what I'm doing. I'm going to do vampire counts for my third army, and I'm buying all the new Soulblight stuff because it's awesome. Yeah. Because the designers are still doing what they do best and making amazing. But what I was going to say about even the one rules department, I'm not talking the AOS 40k rules department as an entity. I'm talking the 40k specific people.
Right.
If they are such a thing, they might be the same people. But if they're them. They're the kind of people who will go, cool, here's 6 Primaris Lieutenants. None of them have a jump pack. None of them are on a bike. None of them have anything special about them. It's either 3 different kinds of Phobos guy or 5 different kinds of Tacticus guy. And it's like, it might be 2 of 1 and 5, whatever. But like, it's that. And it's like, but then you get 2 Demon Primarchs. And it's like, guys, come on, give us, like, you just Legends captain on a bike. And I don't understand why, because that was a 40k model anyway. It's all that kind of stuff. So it's so randomly mad. But at least if they can do the right thing that will keep me... I mean, I'm hooked anyway. I have a problem. But like, if they do the narrative thing where Black Library release a book, it has real life impacts for us. Where they go, cool, Black Library release a book about Titus. Here's Titus and his boys. Like here's a Sergeant Chiron. Chiron and Gadriel and all that. It's like, cool, a little kill team, whatever. Like they've done Titus, but that's the kind of thing I can get behind. That's small scale. But yeah, in terms of that actual production and then rules writing, it's just a complete leagues apart. You've got Black Library, 10 out of 10, knocking it out of the park every single time and driving the world forward. And then you've got the miniatures department making incredible miniatures, but not for use across game systems and Legends. And then you've got the rules department at the bottom of the trash pile, who I don't know what they're doing at any given point. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I look at the Heresy rule system and I look at the Old World rule system and I go, yeah, they're a bit more clunky in terms of initial learning, but they don't need constant balancing. And everyone who plays it goes, yeah, it's broken, but we just don't do that because we're not dicks. And then you go to 40k and you just get all the sweats. So, yeah, and that's why you and I never seem to play card game anymore unless it's a new reveal, which you can't talk about.
What?
But we don't
So
play
do you-
Brian Nexus.
Do you hate 40k?
I hate the rules writers for 40k. Well, actually, no. That makes it sound like I hate the people. I hate the way that department works, and I hate the way it's gone towards competitive gaming. That's not your primary audience, and it never has been. Look at the book sales versus the people who are buying Primarch Nexus packs or whatever. Who cares about that? Quite happy to have like the syndicated thing of like, here's our theme for, do seasons. I don't care. Here's our theme. You can fight in Vigilus. You can do that. They were doing that anyway. Just like they can do that in the lore, and people can choose to opt in or out.
But
keep the game narrative.
What if they're very aware that they actually have two main audiences, and these are significant audiences, but they're completely different? Maybe they're aware that one of their audiences, which is large, the largest, but doesn't spend as much, are the hobbyists. And then the other half, or the ones that spend a lot more, probably half in fact, are the competitive types. So they've decided, hey look, let's have a couple of game systems set in fantasy and sci-fi where all the hobbyists can congregate and things won't change. And there'll be long-term plans. And let's have a couple of major game systems where competitives can go because they like it and they like the churn and they like the FOMO and they like the update and da-da-da. And there's a space for them and there's a space for them.
For that, and that's why they chose their flagship game to go for that. Yeah, see, what I think they should do, and this is a wild idea, right, is you can make everyone happy.
You can.
Right, if you make a game system
yes,
that's narratively focused, and then what you should do is maybe make something like an add-on. I think they call them like tournament packs.
Right.
And then if you want to play like a competitive style game, you tweak the tweaked rules where it's like, oh, you can't do. Remember in. Oh, you know what? I think they've actually done this before back in 8th edition where they said, if you're playing a normal game of 40k, you can do as many psychic powers as you want. If you're playing a match play version of the game, which is our competitive version of the game, then you can do psychic power once per go.
Right.
And it'll be the same thing. Like, that's all you need to do is go 40k, you can do stratagems, you can do this, you can do that. That is your narrative game. Here is a match play version of the game that is intended to be used at tournaments, and it has all these stupid terrain rules and blah, blah, blah. Everything else is flavour. You can pick and choose what you want, but if you're going to go do competitive, we do that, and we'll balance the competitive bit. But for everyone else who just wants to play the game, you can keep using the points in your books, you can keep doing all this, because I just want my codex to work.
Are you suggesting that it's possible to invent a game and then invent some restrictions on that game to make it competitive? Are you suggesting that it's impossible? It's possible to invent a game that we can all play.
You can invent a game, yeah.
It's casual. We could all play it.
Yeah.
And that if you put some restrictions on that game, you could play it competitively. I was suggesting that. That sounds like a...
It feels like that's something that maybe 6 years ago they would have done.
That sounds horrifying. I mean, if I put a ball in the street and there's some kids there and said, kick the ball... How
they know where not to kick it, right?
They
need to have their balanced data slate for the air, the PSI and the ball.
Well, the thing is, you can have a casual environment where there's a ball, there's a street, there's children, there's cars, might be some death. Or you could put some rules on it saying, no, you have to do it in the garden and there's some posts and you've got to kick it through the posts. You can make games and put some restrictions on. You could do that. Your dream, I'm saying they could do that.
Yeah.
They could make a game and then
You could also have levels of restrictions if you really
Levels
wanted.
of restrictions.
You could have here's the free-for-all, no idea what's going on.
My brain is exploding.
Use these points and have a good time.
Right.
And then you could have your middle ground, which is like, here's some restrictions to help balance the game as it is on release. And you use the points in the free-for-all kind of version. But it's like the little rules, like if it was psychic powers, you can't do Veil of Time 14 times in a row. You can only do it once for the one guy, that kind of thing. When you can't, I don't know, just restrictions. You can't use the same stratagem 14 times, that kind of thing. And then you have your final level, which is like you can even sell it to these people if they want to go, yeah, this is the expert tier for you data lovers. Here's your thing, go and do competitive. Because, I don't understand why a system that's designed to tell stories is so focused on like balancing itself every 3 months and changing the rules and giving me a book that's already out of date the minute I get it.
They could do both things, you said, though.
They could. They can do the balanced data slates for those people who want to do competitive, because they've already got that set up. That's fine. It means that half the audience get to go and enjoy that, and then people like me don't have to. Because the balanced data slates, sometimes it's fun getting new rules, but half the time I'm like, yeah, but this isn't written in my book, is it? And then I have to pay for the app that I had to pay for the book to get the book into the app. And then why did I pay for the book just to get the code that's already out of date so the book can just go in the bin? It's so strange. So now I just use New Recruit.
I don't think I've ever got my cake and eaten it. Most of the times when I get my cake, it ends up in my face. But it'd be nice to get your cake and eat it.
Yeah, have a cake and then eat it. Yeah.
Here's some rules. Have fun.
Yeah.
And then here's the tournament pack.
That's not actually that phrase goes, by the way. Have a cake and eat it is to basically eat your cake and still have the cake, right?
What?
That's what it is. Have our cake and eat it. It means you can have your cake in front of you, like, wow, a cake, and then also eat it, but not have the cake disappear. You can't do both. But the way we're talking about it is that you have your cake and then eat it.
What about let them eat cake?
That's a misquote of Marie Antoinette, and she might have said, firstly, it's probably that she didn't actually say a thing, but if she did say anything, it would have been let them eat brioche, which is a type of bread, isn't it? So
you've got it in for the French tonight, haven't you?
No, Marie Antoinette was Austrian, and everyone has it in for the French all the time. That's
I think the French have it in for the French most of the time.
Yeah, they. I mean, to be fair, like a lot of us Western countries may create our own problems. So yeah, we have it in for ourselves. So I like the French, the best frenemies.
I was watching a YouTube video the other day about AOS players complaining that AOS has gone too competitive with primaries and secondaries and.
Yeah, who needs it?
And why they're going that way.
Needs it? When you and I play and we just play the games, we're like, hey, this statue's the objective.
I think it's deliberate for Games Workshop. I think they want two systems. They want a fantasy and sci-fi system where it's competitive and you need to keep fighting the churn to keep up. Because those are the people that.
I get it.
And then there's another one where it's all a bit more chill.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to play in the one where all the churn is, and you're not competitively minded, you can. But you just got to brace yourself for the churn. And what you got to do is you got to pick a project. You got to go, okay, I'm working on my Raven Guard now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what edition it is. It doesn't matter what codex comes around. Or I'm working on this. And you throw yourself into a project and enjoy it and listen to Black Library or Winter's SEO on YouTube.
This wouldn't be a problem on paper if they were the same. If they were the same games, though.
Who?
So, like, let's say you sound like, they want a fantasy thing and the competitive, and they want this fantasy thing and thing. They're not the same game. So, like, Heresy is different miniatures, different time period, different characters.
Yeah.
I want to play with Dante in a narrative world. He isn't in that game. It's a different setting. That's what I think. If it was Horus Heresy and you had two versions of it, then great. But you don't. They are different games.
Well, that's why they need a new one. That's why we need... Warhammer Horus Heresy, we need Warhammer 40k, and we need Warhammer New Crusade with Dante in it and all the things in it, and the Emperor, and buy all your Space Marines and
third time over, let's do it.
Land Raiders again.
Yeah, that's probably what they'll do to me, isn't it? All the Land Raiders are floating now.
Yeah.
It probably would be as well. They stick grav plates on a Land Raider and go, waha!
Yeah.
I thought that's what a repulsor was meant to be. But
and then the game system they release around the Heresy will be in the Heresy time area. So it'll be around the time of the Heresy. So they can do some rules for scouring. They can do some rules for unification. They can do... It's around the Heresy time era. And the 41st millennium be around the 41st millennium. So sometimes you might go all the way back and do the Beast. You know, it's the Age of Darkness period, basically.
Historical 40k,
years. Yeah. Or we might go back 2,000 years and do the Siege of Frax, things like that.
Do the Badab War.
You can do all those, yeah. And then we've got the modern one, which is... It's these last 3 years.
Yeah. Where you can have all the Primarchs.
And they can still expand the previous... And you know what? 50 years after that, they'll bring that to an end, and then there'll be a fourth one, and they'll sell everyone the things again.
And we'll be dead.
They discovered a way to sell us Space Marines. I've got like 5 Space Marine legions now. Like 2.5 years ago, I had 0.
You've probably actually genuinely got the same amount of Space Marine armies between your game systems as me.
Well... You have got a lot of stuff. I've seen your stuff. You got a lot of stuff. Mine's I've got a lot of stuff, but it's very specific. It's like that.
Yeah, but it's still like a legion.
Yeah.
It's like what have you got for Heresy? You've got World Eaters, Emperor's Children, Sons of Horus,
and Death Guard. They were all on this van 3, yes.
Yeah, Raven Guard.
Yes.
They're your only loyalist.
And Iron Hands.
There we go. They were a more recent one, weren't they? So you got 6 armies there.
5,000 at least in each.
Yeah, so the points were.
Iron Hands are 10.
You've got 6,000 armies there.
Yeah.
Then you've got for 40k Space Marines, you've got the 2.
Yeah.
Right. So the 13th and the Deathwing. So that's 8.
And Grey Knights.
Okay. Yeah. Grey Knights count. So that's 9 Space Marine armies.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's probably the same or more than me now.
There you go. They want you to buy your Space Marines again. They made me buy my Space Marines 9 times. When I started this journey...
No one made you.
Before I did the YouTubes thing, when I started, I had the Penitent Forge and the 13th. That's all I had. All I had, the Penitent Forge and the 13th. In 10 years, they've made me buy my Space Marines 9 times again. I can't be the only one. This is how they make their money. Selling it to people like us.
8 Space Marine armies.
What chumps? What have I been doing with my life? Why haven't I been collecting Pokemon cards?
I don't know.
I understand they're worth money. What about those Magic the Girl things? Magic the Girl things? What are they called? People play those cards a lot as well. They're worth money. Magical Girl things. Magic... What is it called?
Magic
the Gathering. That's the one. I was thinking of Magical Girl things. That was Freudian slip. Don't worry about it.
But Magic's one of those games where, like, even Games Workshop, like Legends units, Magic just ban cards.
Ban them outright?
Yeah, so you can buy a card, you just can't use it.
There's got to be healthier hobbies. Do you have another hobby?
I did YouTube for a while. How
did that go?
I got fed up with the internet. So
what's wrong with the internet?
Let's not get into it. Yeah.
It's the little comments. It's the drip, drip, drip.
Yeah.
Again and again and again.
It's not good for you.
I mean, you get loads of nice ones and things.
But it's not those ones that
But the drip doesn't stop.
Yeah. No, it's I play guitar. I like that kind of thing. I play quite a lot of guitar now. I'm doing the cool guy stuff instead of but I spend a lot of my time painting, to be honest. But reading and video games are hobbies, so I do those things too. You don't need a million hobbies.
No.
So, yeah, but it was too much hobby all the time. Because I'd finish painting something and then I go, cool, now I've got to make a video about this.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying never, but I'm saying I'm taking a break and I've very much enjoyed it. So, yeah. But yes, fun stuff, fun times. Yeah, you've got more Space Marine armies than me.
Have I?
Yeah, I got 8 because I sold the Crimson Fists.
Oh, okay.
So I got Black Templars, Blood Angels, Void Walkers.
It's not a competition.
Raven Guard, Sound. Yeah, I only got. No, I'm fine with 8. I had 9, got rid of the thing. I'm going to do Grey Knights again when they refresh them, though, because I like the chunk. I want them to be big, chunky Terminators, and I will do those again.
I've been waiting. I remember making a video when 8th dropped, and I can't wait. It was like in the announcement video for 8th, or talking about 8th rules or something or other. It's one of those stand-up ones. And it's right at the beginning, and I was saying I can't wait for the Grey Knights Codex to drop because there's going to be some significant changes with the boys from Titan now that the demons are spread throughout the entire galaxy. And I said that 8 years ago.
Yeah, 8 years ago. Thank you, Jack and Jim.
So chunky Grey Knight Space Marines, you and I are really looking forward to them. There's so much they can do with that range.
So I had all the same ones you got, right? The current Grey Knight range, and I slow time sold them off because they weren't getting table time because all the new shiny Space Marine stuff was coming out at the time, so it just meant other forces were getting reinforcements and the Grey Knights weren't. Yeah. But yeah, with if they redo the Terminators, this should be the addition of Terminators, right? So if they redo the Terminators and they redo the Strike Squad, that's 2 kits that you can do half the army with, right? Because Strike Squad you can turn into Purifiers, you can turn them into a Strike Squad, you can turn them into the Heavy Weapons team just with arm swaps and stuff. And the Terminators can be Brotherhoods or Paladins. Yeah. So, 2 boxes would be getting you in a good place. A new Nemesis Dread Knight would be cool, just to chunk him up a bit and give him some more dynamic posing.
I think they can tell from the strength of the last Games Workshop sales, which were strong, back in an era where Games Workshop sales were not strong. When you release a whole new Space Marine chapter, they sell. If it is World Eaters, it sells.
I mean, the Templars got me when they released.
Yeah, Templars, it sold. The upcoming Emperor's Children, those boxes are going to sell out.
Not to me.
It's... Turns out, Space Marines are popular.
Yeah.
Make you buy your Space Marines again.
Even the naughty ones.
Even the naughty ones. So, it's going to... Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what the next Space Marine
Grey Knights.
because yes, Grey
Imagine
Knights.
that.
I think
edition.
of Grey Knights as a
Grey
separate
Knights.
army. They are Space Marines, but I think of them separately. So like they're like their own thing, and I love them for that because they are so different.
Do you realise how many they would sell if it was on the launch box for 11th edition?
It won't be there.
But imagine.
Yeah, I can imagine, but it won't be.
Everyone would buy more Space
I mean,
Marines.
it is still Space Marines, yeah, but I don't think they will do that. I'd be happy to be wrong. Yeah.
What do you think is going to be on the launch box?
It'd be regular Space Marines with some new unit that no one would be that excited about, and then it'll be, I don't know, choose a Xenos faction.
Well, what did we have? We had the bugs, and then previously it was the Necrons.
Yeah.
So it's going to be orcs again.
Before that was Death Guard. Yeah, so it'd be.
Or
I'm
it could be
saying
Chaos.
Yeah, it could be.
But we just had Chaos.
Yeah.
With
and it's next
It'll
year
be
if
orcs.
it's on time. It's probably orcs. No, because orcs had a refresh recently. And Eldar have just had a refresh. Votan need a big uplift. Maybe it'd be Votan.
You said Votan need an uplift because they're
yeah, because they're little. Yeah. Oh, they've got little rate. Yeah, little guys with a little range.
Did there.
Yeah. That'd be good.
Do you know, because all the models got bigger, how small Votan models look these days?
I love it. But they're as tall as an old guardsman. They're as tall as an old Cadian.
But the new Cadians are suddenly
a little bit taller. Yeah. But that is in scale now, so it's like cool. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be Space Marines.
Space Marines.
Yeah, probably.
It's always Space Marines.
It's always Space
Marines.
Marines.
I think it should be Space Marines is like saying, I think gravity works.
It wasn't saying I think it should be. I know it will be. But it's, the problem is, so that after the initial Primaris releases, the last like Space Marine release outside of a faction specific one like Templars that I got actually excited about was I think when they did the Phobos stuff in like early 8th edition or mid 8th edition, they were like, hey, here's an, because you got all your new upscaled Space Marines. Like, oh, cool. Here's some new ones in different armor you've not seen before. Like, oh, that's cool. But since then, it's been like, what are Desolation Marines? What are those guys?
Yeah.
Just Marines from... It's like, okay, cool, fine. I don't use them. Infernus Marines are pretty cool, but they're just dudes with flamers. Like, they're cool as a unit, and I like the idea of them, but we already had them with the Templars, like, because they had a guy with a flamer and a robe there, who's a cooler looking guy, because he has a big flowing robe and all that.
They went into that hard, didn't they? Like,
Templars they did, yeah.
Well, no, different types of Marines. Like, you've got Suppressors.
Yeah.
You've got
Eradicators.
You've got Infernus. What else?
You got... So I'll go through the app now. Are you ready?
No, but do you know what I mean? You're right. There's like... the Desolation Marines were a thing when they were good for a bit. And then some others were good. There's so many different types of just foot infantry Space Marines.
And we're missing all the bikes. And we're missing all the... Like, the Outriders all have chainsaws.
It's like they want to sell us Space Marines.
Yeah.
Do you notice how much Space Marines sell?
Yeah.
There'll be a whole teams coming out, because we've got the guys with the flamers, right? Here's my prediction that we're going to get tactical support teams soon, right? And in the flamer thing, it's going to be... In there, you could do them as flamers or plasmas or melters or something like that. And a whole squad of plasma, a whole squad of melter, or a whole squad of flamer.
They've already got Hellblasters, haven't they? Plasma.
So they've already got the plasma guys, so we just need the melter guys. Mind you, that's
Eradicators.
Service goal, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Thank you. Thank you. So we've got a full team of melter guys, plasma guys, flamer guys,
flamer guys. Yeah, you've got the
guys
main...
jumping around.
The only one you don't have
is
is Volkite, because it's not in 40k really. You have a little bit, but you got aggressors, assault intercessors with jump packs, regular assault intercessors, blade guard.
Yes.
You've got company heroes. They're a cool unit, but who's going to use them? I like them. Desolation squad, eliminators, eradicators. I'm skipping all the tanks. Hellblasters, Inceptors, Incursors, Infernus, Infiltrator.
That's a lot of Marines.
Invader ATV.
We don't have enough lieutenants,
Yeah, right. Well, that's the problem. We actually don't.
I know.
Because all those lieutenant models are 2 data sheets.
Yep.
So
where's the lieutenant with a jump pack?
Right.
And lieutenant with a bike. Lieutenant and Terminator.
Gravis. Yeah. That's the Reaver squad, Scout squads, Stern Guard veteran squads, Suppressor squads, Terminator assault squads, Terminator squad, Vanguard veteran squad with jump pack. Where's that? So those are just in the other data sheets. That's not the battle line guys.
Yeah.
So, and not including all the characters.
What I'm worried about? We've got all of that, right? There's some clear ones that are definitely coming, like Assault Terminators. They'll be coming.
It's just an arm swap,
we've got the Stern Guard, so the Vanguard will be coming.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
And then some of the vehicles will get upgraded and change. A drop pod and tanks. Once you've done that, what else are they going to scrap the whole range again and start again? Because that's a lot of Space Marines to suddenly go, all of a sudden you need this and add this thing on.
Well, that's where I think the narrative plays in. That's where the narrative plays in. Get people hooked on the narrative, and then they will want to buy more because the narrative is good, not because they have to get it because it's the new shiny. They'll of course always be doing new shinies. That's what they do. And I know for a lot of the original models, like the Primaris Intercessors and stuff, they're plain for a reason, so they can make upgraded looking ones with all the cool bling like they used to.
Well, they do that now, don't they? Because you
Stern
can
Guard have it all.
Yeah. There are upgrade packs now, so they deliberately made the Intercessors in a way that you could
modular.
Add.
Yeah. No, yeah. Again, the faction specific releases I've really enjoyed for the most part. Like, of course, there could be more, but you can see where they're trying to condense the range slightly just to make it modular and simple. So they only produce like Death Company Marines, for example, the ones with jump packs. It's the same, and same with the Assault ones. It's the Assault Intercessor sprue with or without jump packs. Again, with a cool upgrade sprue. The upgrade sprue is great, but it means all they have to do new is that. But then you have the specific guys as well, for like Sanguinary Guard. That's a bad example because I don't like the new models very much, but the Deathwing Knights for the Dark Angels, they're cool. They look good. And the Inner Circle Champion dudes, they're cool as well. Space Wolves hopefully get something cool like Wolfguard Terminator. Space Wolves are the ones who go and hit the hardest because they were the only ones, other than maybe Templars a little bit, that had completely different. They weren't allowed to take Vanguard Veterans and Stern Guard because they had their own version. They had Wolfguard and Skyclaws and all this kind of stuff. So they're the ones who've been hit the worst. Because,
They also had the highest range, the biggest range to redo because of the other chapters, like Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Space Wars always had the most stuff. So I think that's why they're getting it last, because they had the most to change.
Or it's a refresh with Lehman Russ. Who knows?
Or
they might be like, we're waiting, because Lehman Russ and everyone.
11th edition, he's on the cover with some wolves.
We don't know, yeah.
That's what they need to do, is every 3 years is a new edition. No, not every 3 years. See, it should be a 4-yearly cycle as well. They've got the 4 games now. So one launch every 4 years. So
we're halfway through the cycle and half the books aren't out. So
I know. We're literally a year and a bit, and it's 11th edition, but we're still waiting for books. So every 4 years would be good. But all they need to do is release a new Space Marine chapter a year, every year, with a codex, and Grey Knights counts, and Emperor's Children counts.
Deathwatch.
And then they do Army of the Damned, Legion of the Damned, suddenly big launch for that. They do Space Wolves, suddenly a big launch for that.
They are Legends Imperial Agents.
And if they keep selling people Space Marines again, more Space Marines, more mega launches once a year, every year, they'll make lots of money because people like Space Marines. I don't know if you noticed that people like Space. Say they did a massive Raven Guard launch, like in 2027, and Korax comes back, and there's a whole bunch of stuff, a new Raven Guard pack. Do you realise how many Raven Guards they will sell? All the Raven Guards.
I already have my Raven Guard.
And they could do it
ready.
In Codex. They could do it off the
other than the Wolves, I'm covering my bases. I've got Salamanders, Raven Guard, and White Scars in the wings, waiting for their Primarchs. So I'm good to go.
I'm ready.
And then I can be that hipster. I was like, I had them before they had their Primarch or whatever.
And what they do is they bring them back with their whole army that they've been sitting on all this time, and all the stuff that you had waiting for them doesn't count anymore because you've got to use all the new stuff.
They didn't do that with the Lion. They just gave him some cool dudes to hang out with.
Well, they don't know what to do with the Lion yet. He's sort of hanging out at the moment. He's sort of like, we're waiting.
I'm waiting for the book. Tell me what he's going to say to Gilliman. I want to know what happens when they have a chat.
That's what I mean. Give it to. They should have at that point turned around to, Graham McNeil, whoever, and said, right, we've got this loose thread. Come back to us with a synopsis.
Yes. We want to bring this Primarch back.
What would you do?
How would you do it? Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And also, it doesn't help because of the way, again, the 40k rule set kind of works at the moment, is that the Primarch doesn't really feel like a Primarch. Some do. Angron's pretty good. He's cool. But, the Lion, I've seen him get in trouble so many times.
I would be happy for Primarchs and Demon Primarchs to be 1,000 points and feel like 1,000 points. Do you know what would happen if you made them 1,000 points and they felt like 1,000 points? Number one, you wouldn't see them in tournament play.
Because they've not got the flexibility to do what they do.
Because they can't do secondaries and the actions and all the things and all the bits. Half your army is in one model.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't see them in tournament play, so good. That means you don't have to worry about balancing them or nerfing them.
Make them massive.
They're 1,000 points. But you would play them in 3,000 point games or 4,000 point games. It would allow Games Workshop to acknowledge that those sorts of game systems exist. Because what's the point? You do a 3,000 point game if you had Gulliman and he was 1,000 points and he felt like 1,000
Yeah,
points.
I do a 3,000 point army and then stick a Primarch in. I've got a 4,000 point foot. So you do the same. That's what we do for Heresy.
And you know,
it's you get to a 3,500 point game and then you go, right, now I'm going to round up to 5 and add Sanguinius and whatever. So,
but you can't have Gulliman who's worth 1,000 points because that's the cost of 2 knights, Imperial Knights.
And an
It's
Armiger.
unbalanced.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to you, I want Gulliman to go through those 2 knights because they're only 800 points each or 900 points each, and he's 1,000 points and he can go through 2 knights. He's Gulliman. Yeah. I'm happy with them being 1,000 points.
It's like the 2 things I always remember. Like, it's the one like.
And Angron as well, by the way. Demon Angron.
Yeah.
1,000 points.
Easy, yeah. Like, it'd be
you
great.
Don't want
Give
him
him
touching
400
you.
attacks.
Yeah.
He should just, whatever he touches, just like, that's insta-dead.
It should be like Space Marine 2 when your Space Marine runs through the humans.
They splatter, yeah.
And it should just be that.
Well, it's like the things you remember, like the stuff you want to happen on the table when you bring a Primarch specifically. Your captain can have a bad day, but a Primarch. Sanguinius beheaded a Reaver Titan and chucked the head at the other Titans and they went, and walked away. And it's the same thing where... like there's a moment in Warhawk where the White Scars are having a scrap with the Death Guard, and then they all look up as a fully plated Cataphracti Terminator goes soaring over their heads, and they're like, apparently the whole battle stops, and they're looking up, and they look round, and the Khans just launched this 3, I don't know what a Space Marine is. They're 2 tons without armor. So this like probably 10-ton dude in Cataphracti just launched him across the battlefield. Yeah. Just got a home run with him, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, I want that kind of thing."
Yeah.
Or when you have someone like Angron pick up someone and kill someone with them, like kill a person with a person.
Look,
so
if I played you, I say, "Hey, come round next week. Let's play a game of Warhammer 40k," and you set up, let's make it 3,000 points. And you turn up with your 3,000 points worth of Blood Angels, right? And you're ready to go. And I put down Angron on the other side, and he's 1,000 points. I want you to look at that with your 3,000 points without a Primarch, at my 1,000 points with a Primarch and some bad guys behind me, and be worried. Yeah. Because it's Angron. If Angron attacks anything, Angron should be the scariest thing in close combat.
But he's one guy.
One guy. So, okay, you put a knight again, he kills the knight in 1. The Monolith, I kill that in 1. You put Catan, he kills that in 1. 20 feel no pain, no, he kills that in 1. But he kills a thing. That's what Angron should be doing on the tabletop, and I'm down with that. I'm fine with that. Yeah. And what you do as a gameplay thing is you're like, oh crap, right? I'll have to feed him a rhino, because then that will give me some room over here.
Angron's quite happy to
get
a rhino.
I'll put that over there, and then the boys can get out here, and they can run the other way, and then he'll have to eat the rhino first, and it gives them another turn.
That's the narrative that comes out of it. It's a holding action. It's like the Demon Primarch showing up. These Blood Angels are here. Their job is to survive and hold the line until that Primarch is either got, because they're not going to kill it. They might. It's a game. But in the narrative, they're not expecting to banish him to the warp. They just need to hold the line, and that becomes your story. Yeah, it's that kind of. If you have 2 Primarchs, it's like, okay, this is a different story, and it depends on the Primarch too. With Angron, it's probably a hold the line. If you have brought someone like Lorgar, his ability would probably be something like, oh, I'm summoning thousands of demons, and that's the thing. It's like, not Lorgar isn't 1,000 points because he's killing everything, but his ability to buff all these demons is what's killing. That kind of thing. That's why he's 1,000 points. Yeah. Not that we have Lorgar yet, but that kind of thing.
I've got no problem with there being so. Primarch should be like, I think Catan's as well. So if I was doing it, there'd be a couple of things in each faction. Like in the Eldari faction, there'd be 1, and it would be the Avatar of Cain, but he'd be at 1,000 point bad boy.
He could take on a Primarch,
There'd be Star Gods for Catan's.
There'd be 3 of them,
Orcs might not have anything. Other things might not
Gazgul
have anything.
Has his apotheosis,
but I'm happy for there to be God tier type stuff going on.
Yeah, but then the Guard, their thing is they can take 3 super heavies. They could take 8 super heavies if they wanted to. The tanks.
The Guard is okay. You've brought your God tier thing, but I've brought 1,000,000 guardsmen, so it's going to be bad. And I'll see you in October after you've dug your way through them.
But those armies who don't have access to it often have, Votan and Gene Stealer cults and stuff aside, those guys are screwed. But they often have an ability to come back. So Imperial Knights, the reason they don't have anything big is because they're Imperial Knights. They are big. So yeah, 2 of them could probably have a go with a Primarch and do something to him at least.
Yeah.
So you trade. Whereas like something like Imperial Guard, because they have such massive access to ordnance, that's in their current 40k. That's how they deal with it. You've got anger on a cross, use 1,000 points. Fine, I've got 2 shadow swords looking at it. That kind of thing, right? That's gonna hurt him, Demon Primarch or no. So yeah, I like that. The only ones that would struggle are like Votan, Genestealer Cults, anything where they've not got it doesn't feel like they have a fully fleshed out range yet. So
it's not every range needs the same thing.
No, but like they also don't have a way to deal with that.
I'm fine with some ranges having access to godlike deities, and some ranges not having any grav things because they're orcs and they can just barely make things work on wheels, let alone grav.
Yeah,
I'm happy with that. I'm happy with some ranges not having any tanks at all because they're Tyranids. It's not every range needs everything.
No.
The ranges need to be completely different.
I agree.
Different flavors.
I totally agree.
And Primarchs should feel like Primarchs.
Yeah, I'm also a fan. Whilst I 100% agree, not every range needs the same thing, because otherwise you just end up with the same range. And that's the problem, different conversation I have with detachments at the moment. There are a lot of copy-paste detachments across armies, and it's like, that's just the same army with different models. Great, thanks. Different conversation. I do want more big, scary, more big, chunky models in 40k, because AOS knock it out of the park all the time. That vampire count on Zombie Dragon, which I'm 100% buying when it comes out.
I've been shouting about the Exodites for ages. Why haven't they got Eldar riding dinosaurs in 40k? Why is that not a thing? The Exodites. That's a range ready for big, scary monsters.
Well, yeah, and GW have already proved you can make giant dinosaurs, because the lizard men and what they called Seraphon is their actual name, isn't it?
So let's have big, scary monsters. Let's have more of them.
Bring dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Demons and things. Let's have more demons and things. There was a great rift. Where is their big upgrade with all the more demons?
Yeah, give us Super Bloodthirster.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jackus Woods from France, for your donation. Awesome. Sorry to interrupt the flow. Any plans for more adventures of Anya Sedaris and or
Benoit Balls?
Benoit Balls. Benoit Balls.
We hurt him.
Are there any plans for Anya Sedaris?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing. You can be honest and say that they've not thought about it yet. We definitely want to bring her back, and that there have been discussions around how we do that, and when, in terms of plot-wise, when. Not necessarily when we do it, because we can always do it whenever. But yeah, there's definitely something. I think if we wait for the Grey Knights refresh, no spoilers.
I think there's always shiny things, and there's shiny things in the way right now.
For you, yeah.
I am shining out.
It was for me last year. You've got shiny things this year.
Yeah,
there's a lot going on.
You were like, hey, I've done Imperial Inquisitor Agent,
and the Blood Angels just came out, and
I want to play these. Let's do this thing.
We were 100% do that again, because they're great.
So the plan, it'd be nice to have plans, but instead we are more like angry dogs chasing a laser pointer. Or kittens.
Yeah, because cats chase laser pointer. My dog chases dust.
He's like a dog chasing dust, and I'm like a kitten that's just eating the laser pointer that wants to sit down and have a nice lie down. Thank you.
Yeah. But we were 100%. She's coming back.
She's coming back. You heard it here first. Just don't know when other projects are in the way.
Yeah, or when in the plot. That's another thing. Like, she was a young Inquisitor. Yeah. Will she be a young Inquisitor when we come back?
Many, many years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Will she be Orthodox? Who
what?
knows? What do they call it? It's radical and the normal dudes, isn't it? Like
not moderate.
Moderates or whatever, yeah.
No. Damn it. Radical and
fundamental, I don't know.
No, I forget the other type.
Yeah, Eisenhower was one, and then was
you start off as a thing, but you
straight laced and you go radical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Will she be a radical? Is the question. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. When we come back, will she be a radical?
Will she? Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was Glor who said it's inevitable.
Harvey Dent said it better.
They all
the dire hero or sleep longest after super becomes a
Puritan. No, not Puritan. What is it, guys? My brain is now stuck. Inquisitors. They're either this or this. Thingy bob or a radical. And it's not Puritan or radical. It might be Puritan or radical. It might be.
What is the opposite of a radical
Well, if you
inquisitor?
What is the
40K.
Opposite of a radical inquisitor in 40k?
Puritan. It is Puritan.
It is Puritan.
According to Reddit, yeah.
Puritan.
Pinch of salt. It's Reddit,
And then radical.
yeah. There we go.
Glor said it was inevitable that they all go that way.
I believe in Harvey Dent.
I believe in Harvey Dent.
I believe.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
how long have we been going? I don't even know.
up there it says an hour and a half.
Oh. It's almost bedtime.
It's almost bedtime. That was good fun.
Yeah.
Next week, I'm going to be talking about things that I might be able to talk about. What else? Tomorrow, there is a battle report coming out between me and Dark Angels Chris. Chris gets his hands on the Eldar Codex and hurts me with it. Everyone who touches that codex just hurts other people. Here's a public safety announcement. Do not touch that codex. Do not go anywhere near the Eldar Codex. Put it down. Stop hurting people. So that's coming out tomorrow.
I'll put it down.
I don't know what's coming out on Sunday. What's coming out with you?
I painted some javelin attack speeders.
Yay!
Nothing's coming out with me. I got to go to work.
You got it. Sultan's got to go to work.
Yeah.
Thanks for Sultan for swinging by and taking over the stream.
I don't think I did. I let you just talk for a bit.
Okay.
And then talked with you sometimes.
Sorry, that happens.
But you forgot about the thing you couldn't talk about for a good chunk of it. I think.
I know,
So
that was the point.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken about the thing.
And now you can get back to working on the thing that you can't talk about.
That's the plan.
We probably shouldn't even be mentioning that you can't talk about.
I kind of mentioned. I mentioned that I couldn't mention it last live stream as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like any of the things you can't talk about.
No?
No, I think they're going to hurt me.
It's,
and also...
I think... I think they're...
Save your thoughts.
I think they're not going to hurt you as much as you think they're going to hurt you. But I think they're going to look good doing it. And that's the important thing.
And to be honest, that's all they care about.
It'll look epic. It'll look cool. It'll feel a bit different. And I'm enjoying...
I mean, with who they are, feeling a bit different might not be a good thing for me.
It might feel a little bit excessive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to go now.
We're going to go now.
Love you all. Bye-bye.
Bye. And you press the thing. I've got 1 minute.